Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to whenever you may see this video. I pray all is well for you. And this video, it took some time. I've written, erased, rewritten many notes on my whiteboard that was gifted to me. Thank you to that person. If you see this, God bless you. It is, this thing's been a big help. I need to get a stand because I wanna put my whiteboard here so that as I talk, I've been thinking about of like kind of being like a professor in a way, like writing things in as we talk about it, as we discuss it. But we'll see how that goes. Maybe I might need a bigger one because I like to go into a lot of detail. A lot of detail. Sorry. But nonetheless, this story is a very powerful story. It's a story that I feel is truly remarkable, truly, and something that poses so many questions that I will pose to you, that I will bring to you, that comes to me. And I will ask myself as I ask you, because I am no different. I know that we are all of equalness. And it says that we are human. And I am not better. We are not in competition. And we shall never say that we are better than one another. As the Father asks, as it is written. But in this, we will be discussing Matthew chapter 26, as well as John chapter 12, and I will mention, a few other chapters. But specifically in Matthew chapter 26. And just to give reference, this comes from my past sermon that I watched from my church, what the pastor talked about, and I will link that in the description below, so that if you want a very deeper, a very much deeper intellectual message than what I will give, because this man, he is very wise, very knowledgeable, much more than I am, truly. And Pastor Philip can give you such guidance and knowledge that I may not be able to give in this video, but I will try. I will truly try to spread the word just as good, just as much, and just as much with my heart as he did. So just wanna, yeah. So this is now, we are entering the betrayal, the killing, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ in these last three chapters. And everything that Matthew records, he has written down. But there's a part in Matthew in chapter 26 that is not of chronological order. It's just something that he inserted. But we will see and we will read in John chapter 12 why this is so powerful. Why this little term is one of the greatest and most powerful displays of love, of a desire, of a passion towards Christ by this beloved woman, in whose name we will find out. We'll find out. So it begins as such. So chapter 26, we begin with, and it came to pass, when Jesus had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, ye know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover. So in this current time, let's say today, this current time that Jesus is speaking to his disciples, it is a Tuesday. So it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So after 2 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, is the feast of the Passover. And the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. So Jesus knows, has always known, but he is now informing to his disciples that in 2 days after on the on the feast of the Passover, Jesus will be betrayed by one of his disciples. Jesus will be crucified because of that betrayal. And we know that he will die from that crucifixion on the cross. And then verse 3. Then assembled together the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders, of the people, unto the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas. So all of these men, elders, chief priests, scribes, all gathered together and consulted that they might take Jesus by subtlety and kill him. But they said, not on the feast day, let there be an uproar among the people. So this is so powerful because we are seeing that these men, they're planning Jesus's capture, but they do not want to do it on the day of the feast. Why? Because there will be people there. People will see this. They want to do it subtly, and they want to kill him. They don't want an uproar among the people. And so now these men are showing us that they are more afraid of man and man seeing their actions than they are killing the Son of Man. And so I ask you, and and when I see this, I look at myself, I look at humanity now, and I see that there is a lack of fear in the earth. There's a lack of fear in this time. So what is scarier to you? What is more terrifying to you as I speak to you, as you see me and I see you? What is more damning? Being judged because of your faith, being the opinions of man and of woman around you because, why do you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to pray to Jesus? Why do you lose sleep for him and wake up at 3 o'clock? Why do you go to church every Sunday? Why are you always so happy even when things go bad for you? That guy is so weird. Why do you make YouTube videos about Christ? Why do you spread his word? You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. Man, that person's bad. What kind of job do you have? You're okay with working a 9-to-5 job and you have a college degree? Oh no. You know who I am? You don't want to be a manager? You're just a regular store support associate? You're a customer service person? Are you more afraid of that? Is that more scarier than being eternally separate from the Father? Would you rather be seen in glory and in beauty and of high status on earth and have your flesh be burnt and have your teeth and be gnawing of the teeth, be gnashing of your teeth for eternity in the pits in the lake of fire? Is not separation from the Father, is being chained down in the depths of hell that was only meant for the devil, that was only meant for him and his servants, in whom he tricked, in whom he infected and infested with lies as he fell from the heavens above, as Jesus departed them from heaven and they shot down like a lightning bolt. And hell was only made for them. But for us as humans, because we are born into sin, as Psalms 51 tells us, we are born from the wombs of our mothers. We are born into sin, and the reward of our sin is death. But because of Christ, because of his sacrifice, we can be saved. But you're more scared of someone looking at you because of your faith. Someone looking at you because you don't have a high-end job, or because your husband or wife or boyfriend and girlfriend don't look pretty to them. So you leave them, even though maybe they were a blessing from Christ and they were what you needed. But that opinion is stronger and scarier than being burned and gnashing your teeth for eternity. And so I ask you one more time, what is scarier to you? Who is scarier, man or the Father? And so as we continue, now we take a pivot. We take a turn. Take a right turn. And this right turn is something just out of chronological order. Doesn't follow the steps of the story, but we go into verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper. Who is Simon the leper? Simon is a man who had, I believe it was called leprosity. Sorry, I had to look up the word. It's leprosy. I'm so sorry, I said that wrong. But Simon was a man with leprosy in the town of Bethany. He had a home, and Jesus healed Simon of his leprosy. And what did Simon do? He hosted him and invited him to his home for a feast. And this is something as well where we see appreciation and a lack of pride from Simon, because, and this goes into the real life things, when someone does something for us, when as simple as holding the door. We're going to the store. We're about to cross the street onto the sidewalk that the store is on, and someone's waiting for us. They see us. We give thanks because we should never feel entitled. We should never feel like, you should hold the door for me. I should have the door open for me. Why? Who are you? Who are we? Who are we? We are human. No title, no name is above the name of the Lord. All names are one. We are all within the same realm. And that is what Simon displays for us. He is so gracious and so appreciative of what Jesus did, even though Jesus may not have needed to save or to heal him, but he did. He healed Simon of his leprosy, and Simon brought him into his home. And what happened when he got into his home? There came unto him a woman having an alabaster box, a very precious ointment. An alabaster box is kind of like a vase or like a jar, right? So it's like a jar, right? It's like holding this very precious ointment, very expensive ointment, right? And poured it on his head as he sat at meat, or as sat at the table, at the table. And so we see this random woman. She's in the house with Simon. She brings her alabaster box and she pours this very precious ointment on the head of Jesus. And we even see, but when his disciples saw this, they had indignation, saying, "To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor." So now we're wondering, so now even they're looking at her like, why would she do this? What purpose is this? That is precious ointment. Well, how precious? Apparently so much precious so that it could have been sold and given to use for good for the poor. So now we jump to, right? Let's jump to John. Oops, sorry. I probably should have it bookmarked. I'm so sorry. Okay. So now, and I want to say this is the beauty of the Bible, is that in one place where maybe something seems so simple, so simply written, and so subtle, in another place you will find the delicious detail of what you're truly trying to figure out, of what is it that you're missing? What is it that you want to know? And that's the beauty of where the wisdom comes in, the knowledge comes in, right? And so we go to chapter 12, verse 1. Then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany. So he's in Bethany, where Lazarus was, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. So he came to Bethany. This is where Lazarus, the man that died. And then 4 days after his death, Jesus rose him from the dead. He gave him life again. There they made him a supper, and Martha served. So Martha is one of the 2 women that are at this house. She is one of the sisters. I believe. I may be mistaken. I apologize if I am. And correct me if I am, truly. But Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. So it was the disciples, it was Jesus, Simon, and Lazarus. Then took Mary. So now we know who this woman is. Her name is Mary. A pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly. So we know what this ointment is. And anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. So we see, right? In Matthew describes this as she poured the ointment on his head. John tells us that she puts it on his feet and she wiped his feet with her hair. And so Mary is at the feet of Jesus. Mary's at the feet of Jesus. She puts the ointment on his head. She puts the ointment on his feet. So Jesus his body is now, dripped with this ointment, this very precious, very expensive ointment. And to give a little bit more of context of who Mary is the sister of Lazarus and the brother in whom she was raised from the dead 4 days after. Mary is also a poor woman. Mary is not a woman of wealth. She's not a woman that has a lot of money. And so this type of context matters because we will now unfold why the disciples, or rather the one person who truly was disturbed and moved by this, did not like or understand why Mary would do this, especially with this ointment. So we now go into verse 4. Then saith one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, which should betray him. So now we know who is going to betray Jesus. Why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? 300 pence, or denarii in the English Standard Version, is about 1 year's salary. 1 year. So imagine you worked for 1 year. And in that 1 year, you spent all your money on a perfume or an ointment. And you were able to obtain that. You obtain something that cost you 1 year of your work, 1 year of your labor. And instead of selling it you bring it to the feet of Jesus. And this is not the first time we've heard of Mary, because the other 2-3 times we've heard of Mary, all of these times, all of these instances, she was at the feet of Jesus. The first time she was at the feet of Jesus is when Judas rose from the dead. She ran out to Jesus and she went to his feet and wept in gratitude. And people looked at her like she was crazy. Mary called to her Mary yelled and screamed as if she was crazy. The second time we see Mary, she is at the feet of Jesus while he is preaching and teaching. And people don't understand why, and they question why she was there. And now the third time, she pours a year's worth salary at the feet of Jesus. And Judas, who has a problem with this, not because it says, this is said, verse 6 of John, not that he cared for the poor. So he didn't care about these poor people. He didn't care about those who were struggling. But because he was a thief and had the bag and bear what was put therein. So he was in charge of like the money bag for the poor, right? But he was going to take the 300 denarii or for the 300 pence and keep it for himself, because that is a year's worth of labor. And so and that thought then entered and encircled the rest of the disciples, because now they're thinking, well, yeah, why didn't she do that? Why would she do that? And this is where it becomes so powerful, because Mary shows us that there is nothing of greater value in her life than Jesus. Not a year's worth. Could you imagine? Could you really imagine? And could you ask yourself, if you worked for 1 year and saved up, whatever, however old you are, whatever money you make, 30, 40, 50, 60, $100,000, that you would still bring all of that or whatever it is that is worth that to the feet of Jesus and pour that. And then I come to you and I ask you, what is your alabaster box? What is more value to, what has and what holds more value to you in this time, in this current place, than the love and the salvation of Jesus Christ? What is it that you cherish so much? And is it worth more than the love of the Father? Because for Mary, there was nothing. A year, and this is, and she is someone, she loves the Father. She desires the Father. She wants to be in his presence. She wants to be at his feet. And this even goes deeper to show that when you love the Father so much, when your faith is so strong, when your belief is of no other, people will start to question you. People will start to look at you differently. And this is when you know you are powerful. Because they will start to say, yo, why is Bob over there waking? Can you believe he wakes up at 3:00 in the morning to pray to Christ? Can you believe Nick wakes up at 3:00 in the morning? And even though he goes to sleep at 10 or 11 or 12, or even has a long night, he goes to sleep at 1, he'll still wake up at 3:00 in the morning to pray to Christ, to spend time with him, because that's some spiritual time. 3 to 5 o'clock, 3 to 6 o'clock is a biblical spiritual time that we could spend with the Father. Can you believe he does that? Like, why does he do that? Can you believe he gives all his money? He donates so much money to the church, Can you believe he chose to leave his job to go to somewhere else because he said God called him to be there, and there's a church that he follows that he went over there to be with? Can you believe that? Why would he do that? That doesn't make any sense. All that money he donates, leaving a well-paying job. Why would he do that? And that is what they do here. They can't understand. They can't fathom, why is Mary always at the feet of Jesus? And someone, how could she give up a year's worth of a salary and bless him? And if we return, and if we actually, so we go back, right, to Matthew 26. So we know that the disciples, because of Judas and his thoughts now lingering and closing, engulfing the minds of the other disciples. When Jesus, verse 10, when Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. Okay, so I've actually decided I will switch over to the English Standard Version because I know this version may be a bit confusing. At least for me, sometimes it is. So, verse 10. Jesus said to them, why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a beautiful thing to me. For you always have the poor with you, but you will not always have me. So Jesus said, the poor will be there. You will always have times where you can help the poor. That the poor will give you the opportunity to help them. But Jesus says, but you will not always have me. You will not keep. In pouring this ointment on my body, she has done it to prepare me for burial. So Jesus is signifying the burial, because he will be dead from the betrayal and the crucifixion and killing of his own self, of him, through the scribes, the elders, and the betrayal of Judas. Verse 13. Truly, I say to you, wherever this gospel is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her. And so we see Jesus say that with what she has done, this will be remembered by all. The world will know who this woman is. The world will know what she has done, and it will be written. And the same goes for us. When we, and again, I go back to my question. Is your job, is your car, is your home, is your YouTube channel, your Instagram following, your TikTok following, your social media following, is your husband, is your wife, is man, is your phone, or even your money, your income, are any of these things of greater value than the salvation and the love of Christ? What will they do for you? How will they save you? Because when the time comes, when the trumpet sounds, the clouds depart, the sky opens, it is too late. Your car, your home, your job, your money, they will all stay here. They will not come with you. But you know who will be coming? Christ. And he will ask you, and he will judge you, and there is no hiding. And so when you look at yourself in the mirror, when you look at yourself and talk to yourself, ask yourself, what is my box? What is my alabaster box? Can I sacrifice? Can I give up? Can I bring what I love so much to the feet of Jesus, just as Mary did of a year's worth salary, and pour it and bring it to the feet of Jesus? To show my true love, my true desire, my true hunger, my true passion and faith for him? Or can I not give up my job that I make $100,000 in? Or the status of where I work as a nurse, as a doctor, as a manager, as a vice president, as the CEO? Or I cannot give up my car. I put too much money into it. I put way too much money. It looks really nice. It sounds really good. It drives really fast. Or the house that I have, oh my gosh, my house is so massive. I have a pool. I have this, I have that. Are you able to sacrifice that? Can you bring those boxes to him? And so I ask, and I pray that all of us can be like Mary. For in this country, we are too scared. We are too afraid of man and losing our dignity for praising his word, for worshiping him in song and praying to him in any discussion, talking about him. Because we fear judgment more than we fear eternal separation and eternal damnation. We fear opinions. We fear the voice of man rather than the wrath of the Father. Even the scribes were more okay killing Jesus, but not doing it in front of man, lest there be an uproar. So who are you? Are you the hypocrites of the scribes and the elders and the chief priests? Are you of Judas, who will betray the Father for silver? Or are you Mary, who loves and desires the Father's love? And for you, there is nothing of equal value. And there will never be nothing that you cannot sacrifice, that you cannot put in your alabaster box and bring to the feet of Jesus. For he is the greatest value, the greatest gift, our Savior. What does his salvation mean to you? What does his mercy mean to you? And I pray that we can all be like Mary and take note of what she has done. I thank you. I love you. And let me know, guys, if you would like to see, the whiteboard. I call him Board. This is Board. Board, say hi. Hello, Board. I'll try to find a stand and a big eraser, because these little ones, they kind of leave it smudged. I gotta. But yeah, let me know. And yeah, think about it. Who are you? Who do you want to be in the end? Or even now? God bless you. May peace be with you all, my family, my brothers and sisters.